This is the most famous man in the world. But somewhere along the way, he disappeared. Not literally, but piece by piece, his nose, his skin, his cheekbones, his identity erased in real time. We watched it happen and we laughed, we mocked, we speculated. We called him a freak. But what if the real freak show was us? What if Michael Jackson wasn't crazy? What if he was performing a disappearing act? Not from fame, but from blackness. And what if he didn't vanish by choice, but because he was born in a country that taught him from childhood that his very face was a liability? Because the more you understand America, a few things become very clear. That America seeks to kill off black leaders and has been largely successful, unfortunately. It also seeks to distort the survivors. And who's a better target than the most successful music artist of all time, the king of pop, the undisputed best, who came along during a time where being black just wasn't cool enough yet. Michael Jackson was born in 1958 in Gary, Indiana, a steel town choking on smoke and segregation. By the time he turned 10, he had already outlived 3 black leaders. Emmett Till was lynched just 3 years before Michael was born. Martin Luther King Jr. shot in Memphis when Michael was 9. Malcolm X dead by the time he was 6. Fred Hampton murdered in his sleep by police when Michael was 11. That was his childhood backdrop, not fairy dust and record deals, but a country that reminded every brilliant black child greatness can be fatal. Black genius in America has a pattern. We don't protect it. We perform it. We profit off of it. Well, they do at least. Then we panic when it gets too goddamn powerful. And the panic is not a black and white thing. We all panic. And if we don't kill it outright, we make it bleed for the rest of his life. Michael watched this quietly. As a boy with wide eyes and a golden voice, he learned very early. Be brilliant, but not too black, right? Be loved, but never dangerous. You can never stand up for yourself fully. Be a star, just not a threat. This was not paranoia. This was the curriculum taught not in schools, right? But in the autopsies of black leaders throughout the 1960s. When the Jackson 5 exploded in 1969, America met a new kind of pop star. A black boy with the charm of Sinatra, the footwork of James Brown, and a smile bright enough to sell Pepsi. But behind the sparkle, there was a strategy. Motown created stars, but they also engineered black success to survive in white America. Berry Gordy once said, "I wanted our artists to be looked at with the same regard as Frank Sinatra." To get there, Motown artists took classes in etiquette, diction, and posture. They rehearsed interviews like choreography. They dressed sharp, smiled constantly, and were taught in so many words, don't make white people uncomfortable. The Jackson 5 followed the formula flawlessly, but Michael was the face. And when you're the face, the world starts treating your actual face like it's public property. By the time he was a teenager, magazines were already commenting on his looks. Fans ranked their brothers by attractiveness, and his father, Joe Jackson, reportedly mocked Michael's nose, calling it big and ugly. In his autobiography, Moonwalk, Michael wrote, "I had pimples so bad it looked like someone threw a handful of rice at my face, and I hated my nose." So no, this wasn't just fame pressure. This was black fame pressure, where everything from your lips to your hairline becomes a negotiation. And Michael, he was trying to survive in a machine that loved his voice, loved his smile, but slowly began rewriting what lovable looked like. It didn't help that every other week the press had a new nickname for him. Wacko Jacko, the nose that moonwalked, the boy who met a scalpel and lost. Okay, the last one's kind of funny. It's dark, but it's fucking funny. Half the country was obsessed. The other half pretended that they weren't while secretly watching Entertainment Tonight. Michael Jackson didn't vanish. He faded piece by piece, and we all watched it happen. First, it was the nose, just a little thinner. Then the skin, lighter by the year. Then the jaw, the chin, the lips, the brows. A man unbuilding himself. The tabloids treated it like a circus. They gave it nicknames. They ran sketches. They treated his face like public property again. And America watched it all unfold, not with concern, but with punchlines. Because look, let's be very clear about something. Michael Jackson didn't bleach his skin because he hated being black. All right, y'all keep saying it in the comments, okay? That's not what I'm saying. Well, not necessarily. He had vitiligo, a real condition confirmed by autopsy. In the interviews, he explained it plainly. It's something I cannot help, Michael says. When people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me. He wore heavy makeup to even out his skin tone as the patches became more visible. But when you're already under scrutiny, already under a microscope, every change feels like a confession. He also underwent multiple rhinoplasties. He said it affected his breathing. But he also openly talked about childhood teasing and insecurity, especially about his nose. So here's the question. Was it self-hate or was it self-defense? Because what happens when you grow up being told you're a star, but everything about your blackness is treated like a flaw? He wasn't trying to be white necessarily. He was trying to be untouchable, to transcend gender, race, even biology, to become a myth, not a man. Because myths can't be hurt, but men can. And Michael, he had been hurt badly by his father, by the media, by the mirror. America did watch Michael Jackson transform, but we also demanded it. The same media that crowned him king of pop was the first to burn that crown and keep the ratings high.
The tabloid press, that kind of press, not the press, the tabloid.
Headlines were not subtle. They called him a freak. They called him an alien. Plastic disaster. Is he even human anymore?
Running for my life like that, hiding, getting away. You can't go that way because they're over there. Well, let's go this way. Pretend we're going that way and we'll go that way.
And the jokes nonstop. Jay Leno, SNL, South Park, Mad TV, Family Guy.
How do you like it, huh? Having fun?
Michael Jackson became everyone's favorite punching bag. His face, his voice, his masculinity, his blackness, his whiteness, all fair game. He was no longer a person. He was a public canvas for every anxiety America had about race, gender, fame, and trauma. And the more surreal he looked, the easier it was to pretend he wasn't real at all. Even Oprah asked him, Michael, do you dislike being black? And he didn't snap at her. He didn't deflect. He just paused, looked down and said,
I'm a black American. I'm proud to be a black American. I am proud of my race. I am proud of who I am. I have a lot of pride in who I am.
By the 90s, Michael had become a racial ghost. Too light for some black folks to claim. Too weird for white America to embrace. The same media that praised his childhood sparkle was now dissecting his surgeries like autopsies.
Number one, this is the situation. I have a skin disorder that destroys the pigmentation of the skin. Is something that I cannot help, okay? But when people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me. So it's a problem for me, okay? But what about all the millions of people? Let's reverse it.
Okay.
What about all the millions of people who sit out in the sun to become darker, to become other than what they are? Nobody says nothing about that. So,
as if changing your nose is more shocking than surviving your childhood in front of the world. The real horror wasn't that Michael looked different. It was how badly we needed him to. Because if he stayed black and brilliant and beloved, we'd have to confront how little this country protects people like that. So instead, we watched him fracture. We mocked it. We memed it. We called it his fault. And this was before memes, goddammit. When he showed signs of pain, we called it drama. When he got softer, we called it creepy. When he retreated, we called it guilt. What we never called it was survival. Michael Jackson built Neverland not as a home, but as a shield. An amusement park, a zoo, a private world. Anything to outrun the childhood that he never got. Because when you're 5 and selling out theaters, the world stops calling you a child. And when you're black and global by age 11, the world stops seeing your pain as real. So, he created his own childhood, one where he got to play, one where no one yelled at him, one where he was not physically abused, one where no one took him apart piece by piece. But here is the twist. As Michael's face became less recognizable, his music got a lot more honest. I think we all kind of witnessed this. I was 2-3 years old, but you get the point. More black, more angry, more free. They Don't Care About Us was banned in the United States. Scream was the most expensive video ever made. Black or white wasn't that subtle. History was a requiem in platinum. The more the world said, what happened to him? The more his songs started answering without apology. But by then, nobody wanted to hear what Michael had to say. They wanted moonwalks. They didn't want rage. They wanted Smooth Criminal, not an angry black man. So when the scandals came, the allegations, the court cases, the isolation, he had nowhere to land. He was too pale to protect. He was too eccentric to defend, too famous to be innocent, too black to be safe. He died in 2009 at the age of 50. Not old, not young, just gone. Some said he died of addiction. Some said the pressure killed him, but maybe what really killed him was being a black boy in America who tried to become something everyone could love without ever getting the chance to just be himself. Because in this country, we don't kill all our kings outright. Sometimes we just break them slowly, and when they disappear, we pretend it was magic and not mutilation. We say Michael Jackson lost himself, that he vanished, that he became something other than human. But maybe he was never allowed to be himself. Because in America, brilliance is only celebrated when it doesn't make the mirror uncomfortable. And black brilliance, that's a whole other threat level. Michael wasn't just a pop star. He was a mirror for America. He reflected back to us, to all of us, our beauty standards, our obsession with youth, our hatred of age, our hatred of blackness, our fetish for blackness, and then a need to control our icons until they collapse. He showed us what it looks like when a child is never safe, when a man is never believed, when a genius is never allowed to rest, and we laughed at him. We mocked his transformation without ever questioning what we helped turn him into. We asked, why did he change? But never asked, why do we make it impossible for him to stay the same? Maybe Michael wasn't confused. Maybe he was just ahead of his time and broken by ours. Because if the most famous black man in the world couldn't survive being black, what does that say about the rest of us?